In the middle of the 20th century, China was a country that could barely manufacture a basic tractor. Today, it is launching stealth fighters, deploying hypersonic missiles that defy modern physics, and leading the world in combat drone exports. This isn't just a story about a country catching up to the West. It's a story about a nation that decided to skip the middle steps and jump straight to the finish line. We often hear about made in China in the context of smartphones or clothes, but the real transformation is happening in the world of high-tech warfare. How did a nation that started by copying old Soviet designs become the primary architect of the battlefield of the future? To understand where China is going, we have to look at how it all began. The story of China's military industry starts in 1950, shortly after the founding of the People's Republic. At that time, China had almost no industrial base, so it turned to the Soviet Union for help. This was the era of imitation. The Chinese military began by producing local versions of Soviet MiG fighter jets and T-54 tanks. They weren't innovating, they were learning how to build. However, the relationship with Moscow eventually soured, leading to a period of isolation in the late 1950s. This forced China into a process known as reverse engineering. Essentially, they would take a piece of equipment apart, study every screw and circuit, and figure out how to build it themselves. The most famous example of this was their version of the AK-47. For decades, Chinese hardware retained a distinct Soviet DNA, but as the Soviet Union collapsed in the early 1990s, a massive window of opportunity opened. China was able to acquire a treasure trove of Russian technology and recruit scientists who were suddenly out of work. This led to the creation of massive state-owned conglomerates like AVIC for aviation and Norinco for armored vehicles, setting the stage for a total industrial overhaul. The real secret sauce behind China's rapid rise isn't just copying, it's a strategy known as military-civil fusion. In many countries, the companies that make civilian products like cars or software are completely separate from the companies that make tanks and missiles. China decided to erase that line. Under this policy, any breakthrough in the civilian tech sector, whether it's in artificial intelligence, battery life, or telecommunications, is immediately shared with the military, and vice versa. In 2014, President Xi Jinping elevated this from a simple policy to a core national strategy. This means that China's massive infrastructure, its best university labs, and its brightest commercial engineers are all working toward a single goal: national defense. This creates a level of efficiency that is hard for other nations to match. When a private Chinese company makes a breakthrough in drone sensors for agriculture, those same sensors might find their way into a military scout drone just months later. This leads us to a concept some analysts call skipping the generation. China realized that if it spent decades trying to build a better traditional aircraft carrier or a better gasoline engine, it would always be playing catch-up with the United States. Instead, they decided to ignore the old rules of the game and invest in the technologies of tomorrow. Take combat drones as an example. While Western drones are highly capable, they are also incredibly expensive and come with strict political conditions for buyers. China entered this market by offering drones like the Wing-Lung 2 and the CH-4. These drones do almost exactly what American drones do, but at less than half the price. Because they are affordable and effective, China has become the world's leading exporter of armed drones, filling a vacuum that Western manufacturers couldn't or wouldn't touch. Then, there is the development of hypersonic weapons. These are missiles that travel at more than 5 times the speed of sound. China's DF-17 missile features a glide vehicle that can maneuver at 10 times the speed of sound, changing direction mid-flight. To put that in perspective, current missile defense systems are designed to intercept targets moving in a predictable path. A missile that moves that fast and can dodge is, for all intents and purposes, impossible to stop with today's technology. In the skies, China has moved away from Soviet clones to produce the J-20, a 5th-generation stealth fighter developed entirely at home. They are also marketing the J-31 for export, positioning it as a direct, more affordable alternative to the American F-35. By focusing on these leapfrogged technologies, China has effectively reset the balance of power. But weapons are more than just tools for combat. They are tools for diplomacy. China uses its arms industry as a way to build long-term international relationships. Their sales strategy is often described as no strings attached. Unlike Western nations, which might stop selling parts if a country's human rights record changes or if a new government takes power, China maintains a policy of non-interference. This makes them a very attractive partner for many nations in the developing world. However, there is a deeper layer to this. When a country buys a Chinese fighter jet or a command and control system, they aren't just buying a machine, they are buying a package that includes Chinese training, Chinese maintenance, and Chinese software. Over time, that country's entire military infrastructure becomes dependent on Chinese technology. It creates a technical bond that is nearly impossible to break. This arms diplomacy often goes hand in hand with the Belt and Road Initiative, China's massive global infrastructure project. In countries like Pakistan or Nigeria, weapon deals are often linked to investments in ports, railways, and bridges. In a sense, these weapon systems act like mobile military bases, protecting Chinese interests and expanding their influence across the globe without ever firing a shot. Looking ahead, China is preparing for a shift in the very nature of conflict. They are moving toward what they call intelligentized warfare. The idea is that future wars won't be won by the general with the most tanks, but by the one with the best algorithms. This starts in space. China currently operates over 300 satellites and has developed anti-satellite missiles designed to blind an opponent by taking out their GPS and communication networks. If you take away a modern military's ability to see and talk, the war is over before it begins. On the water, they have developed the world's first dedicated drone carrier, a ship designed to launch swarms of autonomous vehicles. They are also working on AI-driven tanks that can operate without a human crew. The goal here is cognitive warfare. China's military thinkers believe that by using AI to overwhelm an enemy with data or by disrupting their information flow, they can cause a mental collapse in the opposition. The goal isn't just to destroy the enemy's hardware, but to disable their ability to think and react. We are witnessing a massive shift in the global order. For the last several decades, military technology was a one-way street flowing from the West to the rest of the world. Now, that street has become a two-way highway, and in some lanes, China is already in the lead. They have moved from copying to competing, and now to defining the future of how nations defend themselves and how they project power. As technology continues to evolve, the line between software and hardware is blurring, and the cost of entry for high-tech warfare is changing. This raises a critical question for the future of global security. As more nations turn toward Chinese technology that is cheaper, faster, and comes without political conditions, how will the traditional global powers adapt to a world where they no longer hold the technological monopoly? What do you think? Is the rise of no-strings-attached, high-tech weaponry making the world more stable by balancing power, or is it making it more dangerous? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.